Passing down the farm to the next generation, understanding the correct legal procedures is crucial for a seamless transition. One aspect to contemplate when establishing an estate plan is leaving assets in co-equal ownership. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law joins us now with some guidance. Roger, good to have you with us. So what are the main considerations and potential implications in this process?
Well, good to be with you, Tammy. A potential problem is that of the heirs simply not being in agreement, and at least one wanting to cash out by forcing a partition. And that's a problem when you leave property in co-equal ownership. And that's often going to lead to the property being sold and the proceeds split. And so if there's an on-farm heir, they need to have a buyout provision so that the farm isn't broken up and they can buy out their siblings. But without that, you've got the distinct possibility and likelihood that that farm's going to be split up.
Now, there was a recent case from Illinois involving co-owned mineral interests. So what are the highlights there?
Yeah, well, we got into this same problem with co-ownership, but not just with respect to the surface estate, with respect to subsurface minerals. And this was as a result of estate planning. Two trusts ended up each owning half of the mineral estate. And one trust wanted to develop the minerals, start drilling and selling that, and the other trust didn't. And so long story short, what happened was that there's a state law process in the state of Illinois that has to be followed when a co-owner in this situation objects to mineral development. And the court focused on what that process was to be able for the one trust to start developing those minerals.
So how does adverse possession play a role in all of this?
Well, that one trust that wanted to develop the minerals wanted to bypass that state law process. So they claimed that over a period of time, they had actually acquired ownership of the other trust's mineral interests. So in effect, they own 100% of the minerals. Well, and so they could develop them. Well, that is a tough argument to make with respect to minerals, because with respect to adverse possession, you have to know that someone is using your property adverse to you. And if you don't object for the state law period of time, then they can adversely possess it and become the true owner of it. But with minerals, you can't see the development unless somebody is actually developing by drilling and searching for those minerals. You can't see, you just can't simply adversely possess minerals by saying, I claim ownership of them for the statutory period of time. You actually have to start developing them, and then somebody who is the true owner doesn't object to that. And the court never really addressed that issue. Maybe they will on appeal, and so we're kind of waiting to see what happens in this case.
So what's the biggest takeaway here?
Avoid co-owned interests at death. I think that's the biggest takeaway. There's too many potential problems. Use other strategies. Use entities, other types of ownership. Always have a good buy-sell agreement. I think those are things that are going to go a long way. But avoid those co-owned interests at death, particularly if you have on-farm and off-farm heirs.
Before we go, I understand that you actually had some really bad weather in your area last night. Are you in the Topeka, Kansas area, aren't you?
Yeah, north of Topeka, about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes. And of course, last weekend it was north of us. But this last night I had one that was north of me and then one that was south of me. And that's a picture of the lane up to my house. I'm a quarter mile up the road. And we had a lot of rain that came pretty quickly and it flooded things out for me. But I didn't get affected by the tornadoes. Unfortunately, it did hit a small town near Manhattan, Kansas, and one person lost their life. There were other buildings that were damaged there, but it's been a rocky number of days in this part of the country.
Well, it really has. Weather has just been so wicked lately. That's Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law. We sure are glad you're okay. Thank you for joining us.